There we go. So hello and welcome. My name is Director Kat McDonald, and I am the Director of the Honors Program at Monroe University, which is in New York, but I also serve as the Executive Secretary for the Northeast Regional Honors Council. So I'm very happy to have you here with me again tonight to go over how to do roundtable presentation. I see there is a technical difficulty, so I will hang on. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Any luck?
Oh.
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you on my phone. I don't know. Let me get rid of the phone.
All right. All of the devices. All right. So let's get let me get underway. And obviously I just have a few tips and tricks for these presentations,
Okay.
and then we'll turn it over to Q&A. So like I said, this is our roundtable session or our presentation prep session on Roundtable.
Yep.
So the first thing that I just want to point out is that all of our information is on our website. So if you go to the 2025 conference menu and then you go down to 2025 conference program, you'll have access to the entire schedule of events at NRHC 2025. So the reason I point this out is because as a presenter, you do want to look through the conference program for your presentation. So since I have Will here, I am going to search just for Will and see what comes up. Okay, there you are. So here's your presentation. So what you're going to notice is that the way that the program is set up is that it just goes in chronological order. So it looks like right now you are in session 4 in Lancaster. So actually what I'm just going to point out, Will, is that your presentation looks like it was submitted as an academic panel, which is different from a roundtable. Roundtable, yeah. So roundtable presentations, so I'm going to see if the schedule is up on the website. An academic panel presentation is when you're seated on a panel with usually 3 other presenters, and you have about 15 minutes to give your talk. You do have access to AV equipment, and it's the panels, as you can see when we look at the panel that you're on, all of the presentations here have been grouped underneath a heading of improving human performance, well-being, and development. So offline I could double check that you're placed in the right spot, which I believe you should be. But our academic panel prep session is going to be towards the end of next week, the 27th, at 6 p.m. So, you're welcome to stay for Roundtable if you're curious what it is, but I figured I'd look in the conference program just to show you where you can find yourself. But yeah, Roundtables are a separate format. So, I can go over the roundtables, and then if you have other questions, I can just answer them for you. I've been doing the conference thing for a while.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right, cool. So yeah, so if anybody who's watching this recording, you should double check to make sure that you are, where your spot is on the conference program. We have 4 sessions throughout the day on the Saturday of conference, and any academic panel or roundtable presentation will be taking place at some point on Saturday. So you just want to make sure that you're checking the program, letting us know if anything is spelled incorrectly or if you have a title update, and any of those, requests will go to our Gmail, which is literally our entire name, Northeast Regional Honors Council @gmail.com. So I'll pop that into the chat for anybody who is here, the email address. And I'm the person who usually responds to all of the emails that come in as the secretary. So you'd be hearing back from me if you send a query. So with roundtables, as I mentioned, it's a little bit of a different format. So after we run through these prep sessions, if you're scheduled to give a roundtable, you'll receive an email that has not only the link to this recording, but also this handout. And what we like to distinguish is that a roundtable is definitely different from a paper presentation. So typically the room is filled with, as the name suggests, several different round tables, and people will come and sit down. We'll have a placard on the table. So again, for every round table, it's a separate presentation at each table. And ultimately, once the session gets underway, the moderator will tell folks that you can begin, and you'll have about 30 minutes to sit with your first group. Because the whole idea with roundtables is to be able to have attendees meaningfully walk through the room and perhaps get up and sit down at different presentations. So we do like to tell folks that a roundtable is meant to be interactive and engaging. And typically what I've told my students is for the first 10 minutes, the presenter will share, a little bit about their topic. And then for the next 20 minutes or so, the presenter would engage the audience in discussion questions, in activity, or something as it relates. So for instance, I'll use one of my students as an example. Last year, my students did a presentation on the intersection between artificial intelligence and entertainment. So for the first 10 minutes or so, my student discussed, what's out there in terms of the research and the literature. But then for the next 20 minutes, she actually had printouts of AI-generated images, both hand-drawn or animated and then photographed. And she had a guessing game with the audience, which ones were real, which ones were AI. And then she was able to explain, how do you spot the AI-generated image? So it was a lot of fun. So after that first 30 minutes, the moderator will kind of say, hey, attendees, now would be a good time to switch if you'd like to go see a different presentation in the room. And so typically the roundtable presenter will get some new folks coming to the table, and you can kind of go through your presentation and your activity a second time. So it's almost like you kind of get two goes at the presentation when you do a roundtable. And for the final 15 minutes, there is almost like a debrief that goes on around the room. So the moderator will have every presenter at each table stand up and just give the room an overview of what they talked about at their table. So in some ways, like this format, it's a little bit less formal than an academic panel, but it's a little more formal than a poster presentation. Now, things to know about the roundtable is that we don't offer audio visual. So what we tell folks is that if you'd like to have handouts or materials on your table, that's totally fine. And in fact, sometimes handouts are a great way to kind of keep yourself on pace and to be able to cover all the things that you wanted to cover if you're a presenter, but then it also helps to orient the reader. And it's also a great networking tool because if you put your contact information on the handout, people are walking away and maybe, you make a friend at the conference. In terms of the activities, I've seen students do all kinds of things. Students have sometimes done a QR code that links people to a folder with additional materials and resources, which is something that anybody can do for any presentation. I've seen QR codes on posters. I've also seen even QR codes in academic panel presentations, because again, if people want to learn more about your research or your resources, that's an easy way that people can kind of get that info. But then I've also seen people bring things like, ribbons and stickers and, worksheets and have their participants also engage in that way at a roundtable. So what I would say about a roundtable is it's as interactive as you make it, but it shouldn't just be you talking at the audience, right? And that's what makes it a little bit different because it's supposed to be interactive and engaging. So we will be sharing this. And additionally, what we do is we send out preparation, like emails to each of the different formats with just reminders about how to prepare for your presentation. But we like to try and do our video recording prep sessions first. because it's just a way of kind of mitigating questions and things like that. So that is, so this will be going out for all the roundtable folks, but additionally, we will have similar emails and resources and tips for all of the different presentation formats. So with the conference, the other thing that I would just say is on our conference website, things to be sure about is to check out all of our various speakers. So we have some really cool events that start as early as the first day of the conference, which is Thursday, March 27th. And then the conference will culminate on Sunday, March 30th with an award ceremony, which is also exciting. So if you're interested about our awards, the ones that are still open right now are the Student of the Year awards. And typically we try to award a student, at least one student from a 2-year institution and one student from a 4-year institution. So there's still time to get in on the awards. So this one is due Thursday, February 27th. We also have for our awards an Honors Professional of the Year. So this is for, if you love your honors director or you have an honors faculty or even a staff person that's really made a difference in your program, we welcome students to nominate professionals as well. So it's literally just writing a letter of reference and filling out a quick Google form. And we list all of our past winners for all the awards on our website. And then the other one that's still open right now is our publications contest. So if you have a publication in your honors program, whether it's a newsletter or a journal or a magazine of some kind, you could propose it to our publications contest. And again, based on the kinds of nominees that we get, we try to award at least one winner in each of the various categories. So last year we had nominees in newsletter and journal, so we were able to award 3 publications last year. So I just like to point those things out. Let's see what else is on our site. So the other thing to keep in mind, this was on our homepage, but if you noticed, we have a journal. So it's called Illuminate. So if you're somebody who wrote a paper, or maybe you even have a creative work, we have a journal, and every year following the conference, we do a call for submissions because we want, our journal's tagline is "Let your work shine on." So we like to try and, encourage students not just present at conference, but maybe try to get their work published in Illuminate. So that's another opportunity. You'll hear more about it when you're in Harrisburg, but I just figured I'd go over some of the things that might be interesting to you on the site. So let me open it up for questions.
Regarding the publication, so for my research, I'm doing it as a senior thesis project where it's going to be like a year-long thing that I might not necessarily be done the paper portion until May. Will that be way past the deadline to apply for the publication portion?
So right now our call for publications is open until May 18th of 2025. But if you feel like you need a little bit of extra time, you could always shoot us an email at our Illuminate address to let us know, because we do like to make the journal as accessible as possible. It does, work does go through a peer review process. So yeah, I mean, we intentionally try and make it towards the end of the academic year, since we know that students are still wrapping up stuff like their papers. So if you need a little bit of extra time beyond that, I would just say, shoot us an email, and I'll put the email address for Illuminate. You can always email the NRHC Gmail, but I'll also put the Illuminate Gmail in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, aside from that, I think that was just my main question for right now.
Okay. So the other thing that I'll just say, as I mentioned a minute ago, and I'm pulling up, I have the emails open up from last year. But again, we like to, send out these prep emails. So there'll be one that comes out for 2025 if you're a roundtable, but then we'll also have one for academic panels. And like I said, one of the most distinguishing things between a roundtable and an academic panel is, you'll have access to AV. And I guess let me see if I can find the email. just so I can give you a little bit of insight, and then you'll also be able to attend the next prep session. So as I mentioned, there is AV. We do use Chromebooks in our breakout rooms. So what I would say is if you're going to have slides, and I do recommend having the slides because it is something that's a nice thing to have. I recommend saving it as a PDF so that way the PowerPoint doesn't get like messed up on the Chromebook. Because sometimes Chromebooks open up a PowerPoint and it looks like funky. So I would say lock it up as a PDF, whether you're using PowerPoint or Canva, or even if you use Google Docs. It's just a little bit of a friendlier format for a Chromebook. So I tell people to be aware of that. We want to, if you have your slides on a flash drive, that's good. There will be access to the internet, but I always say it's good to have a backup. And there will also be, just like in roundtables, there will be moderators in all of the academic panel presentations. So if you're interested, I'll put this link in the chat. We do these prep sessions every year. So if you want to kind of take a look at last year's recording, I'll put the link in the chat for you for the academic panel since you're an academic panelist. And I believe that link should take you there. If it doesn't, let me know and I can find it. But again, we're going to have this one, I believe it said on our site, the 2/27 at 6 p.m. Other things with timing. So when I looked up your panel a minute ago, you're on a panel of 4 people. So I think, you want to speak for up to 15 minutes, but try not to go shorter than 12. So like 12 to 15 is your range. Okay. Typically what we do is we have presenters present, and then at the end, moderators will help hold a Q&A for the entire panel. So sometimes with Q&A, questions are directed to the entire panel. Other times they're directed to just one presenter. It's a little bit of a, it all depends on how the session goes. And then finally, we do provide presentation certificates for all of, the presenters. So you'll have something to commemorate your participation in our conference. So this information will also go out, to you. And we do have, again, like kind of a little PDF that just provides all of the highlights and all the points that will be shared with you. So that's, just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a preview since you came and it's just you and I tonight. But hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, that was definitely helpful. I've been waiting to hear some more information about this, so this is a good start for putting me in the right direction.
Awesome. And every night there are student events at the conference. So like Thursday night we have an opening event with a local mural company that's coming to the conference. But then following that there'll be kind of opening night, icebreakers, and game night on Thursday. Friday night, after our banquet, there is kind of like a karaoke open mic kind of thing that happens for students. And then Saturday there is a end of conference party. So if you're not already following us on our socials, we've been working hard to make sure that we get more Instagram posts out there, but our handle on Instagram is @NRHC Honors. So that'll also be a space to get some pre-conference news and to just hear the latest and the greatest.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining in. And like I said, if you have any questions, you can always hit us up at any of our emails, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But we're really excited to have you presenting at conference, and we look forward to seeing you in a few short weeks.
Awesome. Thank you for all the information.
No, my pleasure.